Hey, I'm back with another video, and in this video I'm going to start talking about what's probably the most critical element of your success, and that's your prospecting efforts in finding clients. How do you find clients to buy the products that we're gonna sell? So, I guess a few things come to mind here. The first is that I think I mentioned in the product knowledge videos that while product knowledge is important, it's not going to be the most critical factor in your success. What's going to matter most is how skilled and how effective you are in your prospecting efforts. The other thing I think that's important to recognize is that there's no, it's not easy. I can't sit here and go, it's going to be the easiest thing you ever did. It's a challenge to find prospects. It's basically to be your clients. The other thing I think that's kind of important to mention is there's probably more than one way to go about it. So while I'm going to kind of walk you through the process that I'm going to go through, there might be more than one way, and what happens with most people, especially independent salespeople, is they go, "I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to recreate the wheel and do it my own way." That's kind of natural among people that are independent. So I would say that the main thing that's important is that you got to have the mindset that you are going to find clients and that you can do it, whatever the method is that you end up settling on. Now, I'd encourage you to use, the steps that I go through, but I can tell you it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be without any bumps in the road, or that's going to be a straight line. So I guess the other thing I want to mention is that it's important to stay in compliance in your prospecting efforts. So you don't want to be non-compliant in your efforts to find clients. So that's probably the one thing you always want to keep in mind as far as prospecting goes. Be in compliance, and then have the right mindset, and then it's all about effort after that. Now, we're going to have three basically profit centers in our life insurance agency. We're going to have individuals. So those are going to be the people that will buy direct from you, both term and whole life insurance. So we're going to need a database of those people. Now, it's kind of interesting. The best kinds of prospects for those are families that have children, probably, or business owners. But also what's important is that they're going to have a need for a lot of life insurance, people that might need $500,000 or $1 million. Not to say that you can't sell $50,000 policies too, but you're going to find that the higher incomes probably will be more of your insurance buyers than lower incomes might be on the individual side. So you're going to want to target people that have disposable income, that care about their families and their business partners and succession plans and things like that. And I always say that they're in a situation where they love somebody, and that's why they buy the insurance. Now, I'm going to suggest that we're going to build a database of 3,000 to 5,000 potential prospects that will be potential buyers of our individual prospects. Now, I'll go through why we're going to need that many later, but I'm going to kind of set that as an individual kind of target to have enough people to call on, because the worst thing on the individual side is not having anybody to call. I mean, who do I call? And having to figure out that on a daily basis. If you can get the who I'm going to call out of the way and organized into a system so that who you're going to call is already solved, well, that takes care of that first problem. So, but in general, those are the people that we're looking for on the individual side. But basically, they're going to be people that care enough to provide life insurance benefits to their families more than anything. Now, on the employer side, we're going to target specifically those groups that probably have employees that have lower incomes. They typically buy more life insurance than employer groups that have a bunch of people that have higher incomes. That's because they have insurance agents. They buy in their life insurance. So we're really targeting with our worksite side the people that aren't being called on the individual side, who still want to buy life insurance for their families, who still care, but they're not being served by the individual agent going out and talking to those people. So our target groups are going to be, first of all, employer groups over 100 employees, because we're going to get a good guarantee issue offer. It can be any size above that, but specifically I think it's good to target government groups like cities and counties, hospital groups, and manufacturing companies, and the brokers who work with those specific companies, and have those be our targets for employer groups. So in addition to kind of creating a list of 3,000 to 5,000 individual targets, what we'll want to do is, in our marketplace, figure out how many employer groups fit our criteria. So like where I'm at in Indiana, I already know there are 92 counties, and almost all of those counties, with the exception of maybe probably less than 5, all have over 100 employees. And then within each of those counties, there are cities that are also potential clients, employer groups that I can work with. And then also there's hospitals, both independent and the bigger chains. And so those are going to be kind of the employer groups. Now, on the group term insurance side, group term insurance is kind of one of those things that a lot of employer groups can buy, whether they're, whether they have higher incomes or lower incomes. Typically, that's still going to be something that's purchased. So I guess when I'm forming my database, I'm just going to kind of keep I don't know what I'm going to do on the group side yet. So even though that's one of my 3 profit centers, I'm going to kind of put that one on hold for a little bit while I try and figure out. But I think what I'm going to do in that particular area is I'm mainly going to try and work with brokers who are looking to put those kind of benefits in the employer groups that they're working in. So to round out what the database is going to look like, I'm going to have individuals, 3,000 to 5,000. Those specifically, geographically, I would want them probably be close to me or within the same occupation, to have something in common. Either they're, like for example, I live in a neighborhood with probably 1,000 homes in it. Across the street, there's another one that probably has, a bunch of homes in it. I live in a pretty densely populated area that has a lot of homes in it, that I could probably find geographically all of the targets that I would need in that specific part of my database. Now, I could also expand it to include a certain occupation. Maybe I could use government employees that are elected officials or something like that. So for now, I'm going to probably start with geographic that are close to me. And then on the employer side, I'm going to have to go a little farther outside of my home kind of area here, because employer groups that qualify, like for example, the government counties in the state of Indiana, well, those are all over the state. So, it's not just here, and I'll have to travel maybe a few hours to kind of get to those. And then on the group side, I'll probably envision that I'm going to kind of work with brokers who maybe a lot of that will be phone work. I don't really know for sure, instead of actually going out and seeing these employer groups and installing that. So it's going to start with kind of creating that database of people and employer groups, and those are the ones that I'm going to target. Now, as part of my individual efforts, one of the things I'm also going to do is I'm going to start creating a list of people that I know, that people that I might want to target too, because one of the things that I found successful for me over time, and we'll get into this when we start getting into actual prospecting, is that it's easier to work through people through connections. And even if you don't have any initially, you can build that kind of relationship with people. And I built a whole worksite business basically on relationships, and that's something that you can do too. Okay, so just to wrap things up here in this video, I wanted to kind of just start working on step 1, which is building my prospecting database. I'm not going to worry about what I'm going to say yet. I'm not going to worry about how that process is going to work. I'm just going to focus on finding out who it is that meets the criteria that I've kind of laid out here. So I hope that helps kind of get you rolling in the right direction. If you got any questions, just let me know, and when I get ready for the next step, I'll talk to you a little bit more about how I'm going to target each of those groups. So I hope that helps you out. I'll talk to you in the next video.